Hello and welcome to the Downloads YGT. That stands for Your Guide To, which is our quick introduction to gaming topics that you might have missed or you just want to know more about. I'm Emma Fife.
And I'm Jimmy Wong, and we're about to blast your brains full of Among Us knowledge that might even give you the edge when you're playing against your friends. But first, come on, don't be sus about it. Hit that subscribe button, pop on those notifications with the little bell so you won't miss out on the stuff that you need to know. And finally, let us know in the comments what you want to see an episode about next, and we'll probably make it because you have the power.
Probably. Maybe. I don't know. Consider it one of your tasks to leave us a little note and let us know, though. Okay, let's kick things off with a quick wiki-like sum up, aka Quickipedia, as we like to call it. So Among Us actually launched in 2018 and got relatively little attention until it blew up last year and became one of the most popular games online and the single most downloaded game in 2020.
Wow. And to sound fancy about it, Among Us is an asymmetrical multiplayer social deduction game. But that's just a fancy way of saying it's just like in-person group games you might recognize like Mafia or Werewolf.
I do like me some Werewolf. Okay, so
I do too.
Like basically asymmetrical means, again, like there's two sides there. So there are the crewmates who are just trying to go about doing their tasks and living their lives on a spaceship, which is where the game kind of takes place. And then you've got the imposters who are trying to murder the crewmates.
Yeah, and when you play as either of them, you actually don't see the same thing if you're an imposter or a crewmate.
Yeah.
So that's what asymmetrical means. And as the bodies begin to drop, everyone gets the ability to accuse, defend, and of course, vote people off of the mission or the ship and send them into space or lava or somewhere dangerous.
Yeah, so you can play with 10 players, including up to 3 imposters, though I usually only play with 2 imposters. And
yeah, 3 is that's tough.
3 is tough, because I mean, it's very possible to win as the imposters, but we'll get into more of that later. But basically, you are trying to, if you're the imposter, trick people into thinking that you are a crewmate. And if you are a crewmate, you're trying to figure out who the imposters are. But of course, you can accidentally vote crewmates off the ship and then they get launched into space. And then there's more tasks for the remaining crewmates to try and complete, assuming that crewmate has not finished their tasks.
Yeah, every single time someone that's innocent gets voted off, it gets that much harder for the crewmates to win. And so that's the game. Can crewmates finish their tasks and identify the imposters in time, or are the imposters going to kill them all? And that is a very Quickipedia version of what Among Us is. So that's the basic overview, but just like the game itself, it seems very simple on the surface, right? Do tasks or die, but underneath there's so much more. So in today's episode, we're going to focus a little bit on the history, its rise to popularity, and finally the role it's taken in the gaming community.
So Among Us is what we would call a social deduction game because there's an emphasis on the players using their deduction and social skills to try and win the game. That's if you are a crewmate. It's kind of a game of deception if you're
definitely social skills if you're the imposter too, because you don't want someone to look at you and go like, you're clearly a bad guy. If you can deflect and make other people think they're the ones that are the imposters, that's a huge way to win the game.
Yeah, totally. So basically, if you're one of the imposters, then you're like the dramatic irony for somebody that's watching the game. So it's like if an audience is watching something and they know something that the protagonists don't, or even the antagonists, then that's considered to be dramatic irony. So like if you are an imposter, you know who the other imposters are, and it's your goal to kind of work together to murder all of the crewmates.
Yeah, so the imposters are the groups that are in the know, and then the other groups of the crewmates are in the dark, and both are trying to achieve that certain, their goal is to win the game. So their goal for the imposters is pretty simple: kill all the crewmates and stop them from doing their tasks. And then the in the dark would be the crewmates who don't know the imposters who are. They have to either spot them murdering someone or figure it out through gameplay.
Yeah. So the games that are these kind of social deduction games are generally accredited to somebody by the name of Dmitry Davidoff, who was doing psychology research at Moscow University in the late 1980s, where he created Werewolf, which is, I guess, considered to be like one of the first examples of this particular type of game.
Yeah, and the game is so popular now, this game type, and you've probably heard of its new evolutions. We have Mafia, the Resistance, Werewolf, Secret Hitler, and eventually all the way to 2018, a small company called Innersloth, which was made up of a group of friends, launched their indie title, Among Us. And notably, they'd never had a game that was a commercial success until then. And boy, were they in for a surprise.
Oh, yes, they were very wrong. What started off as a little mobile game that could in June 2018 back on Android and iOS, 2 years later, and a pandemic, Among Us became one of the most recognized games in the world after exploding to popularity online. So let's take a look at kind of how that particular phenomenon came about.
Yeah, so it won Best Mobile Game in 2020 at the Game Awards, which is pretty big. And then in the same year, United States senators streamed themselves playing it on Twitch to insane numbers with some of the platform's biggest stars. So boom, from nothing to something. So let's break down a few of the main reasons why this happened. The first that we mentioned already is we were in a quarantine and a pandemic across the world. And when you're stuck at home, what do you do more of? You play more video games. We've seen numbers shoot up across the board for viewership, games played, games bought. And that was a huge factor into making a game like this go from sort of an obscure title into one that everyone knew about very quickly.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. If you're not, trying to deal with your pets who are trying to, get involved in your job, you're gaming with your friends. And like I said, Among Us runs really well on mobile because it was originally released on mobile, and everybody has a phone. So I think that as people were trying to find ways to connect with people that wasn't just staring at someone on a FaceTime or a Zoom call, social deduction games are something that's very accessible for people who wouldn't even necessarily consider themselves to be gamers. Wouldn't you say, Jimmy?
Yeah, right. And ease of access is a huge part of that. The games were easy to play. It's easy to understand. It's really cheap. So the barrier of entry is just low. And like you said, you can play cross-platform, both on your phone and your friend that's on the Switch and your friend that's on the PC. So it just opened up so many different ways to play the game.
Absolutely. Now, we can't totally overlook the fact that there were a lot of content creators and streamers who really took a shine to this game, which definitely helped to bring it into the public eye. It actually started amongst Brazilian and South Korean content creators and streamers. Oh my God. I'm so sorry about my cat, everybody, or not, as the case may be.
The cat's pretty sus.
He's pretty sus. This cat is definitely an imposter. He doesn't even try to hide it. He has
it came to the US because of a streamer named Soda Poppin', and then even bigger names just picked it up. Pokimane, XQC, Shroud, Ninja, PewDiePie, and the Offline TV House, and every single gamer group just all of a sudden was like, hey, look at this incredible game. It allows us streamers to cross-pollinate and collaborate on stream because we can finally play a game as a group. Everyone can watch each stream differently. And then it just popped into the mainstream because AOC and Ilhan Omar were like, hey, do you guys want to play Among Us with us?
Yeah.
And, every single streamer, how could you say no to that? You've been collaborating with friends for months now. And all of a sudden, two sitting United States senators are like, hey, we want to play this game with you. It exploded in memes everywhere. And this is, I think, when it really went from big game in the gaming world to big game in the world.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and what a cool way to incorporate not only the ability for other streamers to kind of cross-pollinate with one another, but also, as you say, Jimmy, for this game that's huge in the sort of gaming tech nerd world to become very much part of the mainstream as it kind of indirectly made its way into American politics. So now that we know a little bit of the history about Among Us and how it rose to be the crown prince of streaming games in 2020, it's time to dive a little deeper, go low down, if you will. But first, my second favorite thing in the world after 2D anime boys, it's trivia time, baby.
What?
Okay. So, Jimmy, I pose this to you and to all of you watching at home on whatever sort of screen you may be watching on. What was the most downloaded mobile game of the last decade? We have some options for you. Is it A, Candy Crush, B, Clash of Kings, C, Flappy Bird, or D, Subway surfers. What do you think, Jimmy?
Oh, wow. This is tough.
Yeah.
Okay. I love Flappy Bird, but I know it was taken off of phones, so it can't be that. I see commercials for Clash of Kings all the time, but I think my answer is going to be A, Candy Crush, because it's the one that my mom plays the most. Please let me be right.
You know, I want to say Candy Crush as well, but I think that I'm going to say Clash of Kings.
Okay.
For the exact reason you said, Jimmy. I just see commercials for Clash of Kings literally all the freaking time. All right.
Okay, well, what's the answer, Emma?
Okay, I'm going to reveal it. The answer is, to the question, what was the most downloaded mobile game of the last decade? I hope none of you out there thought to cheat using Google, because I don't like that. I'm looking at you, Josh. It's you typing. The answer is D, Subway Surfers.
Ooh, Subway Surfers? This is inexplicable.
Show me a spreadsheet with this data. What the heck is a Subway Surfer? Anyway, well, let's get back to talking about the most downloaded game of 2020, Among Us.
Okay, and here's the part of the show where we dive a little bit deeper. We're gonna get some hot takes and give you some of our own tips for Among Us. So real talk, strategy time. Emma, what is your go-to strategy when playing Among Us?
I just pretend I'm lost all the time.
That's actually a really good strategy, playing the newbie, right?
Yeah, I don't play enough that I feel like anybody could question me saying, I don't know where this room is. But then, of course, I sometimes play with people who post the map in like the Discord chat that we're doing so that everybody can reference it at any time, which I actually find to be really, really helpful. I think for me, it's like if you're the imposter, anytime you sabotage something, because that's the other thing is the imposter. Like you're trying to kill all the crewmates, but you can also sabotage things on the ship to distract them from doing their tasks, like switching off the oxygen. So they have to go turn the oxygen back on in a certain amount of time, or the imposters will win because everyone's gonna suffocate and die. I've actually never seen a crew fail to fix something that needed to be fixed immediately. But if you are the imposter, do make sure that you run in the direction of where everyone is going. If you are relatively close to where like the sabotage arrows are pointing people, because otherwise people gonna know.
Yeah, and that's a great segue into my strategy, which is always have an alibi. So if something happens, someone's gonna ask you, well, Jimmy, where were you? And if you have an answer to that, that's confident. And again, that's another great tip is being confident, right? In my head, as an actor, sometimes if I'm the imposter, I'll just go, I'm a crewmate. I am a crewmate, and answer every question from that perspective, because you have to have an air of confidence. If someone asks you a question and you choke, you might get found out pretty quickly.
I have to tell you, one time I was playing and I was an imposter and I had killed somebody, and I went to go self-report because I was like, yo, I'm in this upper corner. It's very realistic to say, oh, this dead body was here for a while and I just came across it, but I accidentally vented as two people walked in. So then I tried to frame the two of them as being the two imposters.
Did it work?
No. But it almost did. I sowed a seed of doubt in the mind of one of the crewmates. But anyway.
And that's great, because this is a game where one of the other rules that we didn't talk about is that you're not allowed to talk to each other. Let's say you're all in the same chat room. When the game starts, everyone runs off in their different directions and no one's allowed to say anything. So make sure you abide by that etiquette, because that makes it so much more fun. Because in the case Emma just described, maybe she could have convinced everyone else of that, but unfortunately it didn't work. But it's one of those awesome parts about this game. Anything can happen based on how good you can convince other people.
Yeah, absolutely. And I would say that, when you are having the discussions, because basically whenever a dead body is discovered, a meeting is called. And even if you are the imposter, like I said, you can self-report. I have done it several times. But when you're having those meetings, you you want to make sure that if you are the imposter, you don't just stay totally quiet because that's super sus, but also that you allow everybody a chance to make their points. Because if you are a crewmate, you really do want to work together with your other crewmates to try and figure out who is trying to sabotage and murder you.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so let's do some quick rapid fire questions. Emma,
Yes.
what is your least favorite task to do as a crewmate?
Okay, it's cleaning out the freaking O2 filters. There are leaves in them. Okay, there are no leaves in space. Also, if you look at like the Among Us wiki, that lists as a quick task, but you have to like pull all the freaking leaves out individually. It's the worst. Maybe it's fine on mobile, but dragging with your mouse and clicky, no, it's so dumb. I hate that task. What about you,
My
Jimmy?
least favorite is the swiping of the card. You have to take it at a specific speed across your screen, and every time I do it, I swear, I'm letting out my inner Aries. I'm just like, get the card swiped, God! And I just go way too fast, and then sometimes I just die because an imposter sees me sitting at this task for God knows how long.
Oh,
so good
I get
job,
killed
me.
whenever I have to do freaking wires. For some reason, it's always like, which colors go together? Jimmy, what would you say is like your greatest imposter kill or victory?
Oh, geez. I had this one time where me and the other imposter, we knew who we were, right? And then we were running around. And what we would do is try and find rooms where two people would be there and us two would come in. They'd feel safe because normally imposters run by themselves. And then you just kill them simultaneously and keep running away.
Double
That
kill,
is the
baby.
best way to do it. If
totally
you're able to
is.
get that coordination, no one can ever find you.
Yeah, I was playing a game one time where I was imposter and one of my other buddy who was the imposter, I think that we each killed 3 or like 2 or 3 crewmates before a dead body was even reported. Like it was just the perfect storm of everyone spread out perfectly and nobody was watching each other's backs. And it was just like, caca, death to the crew.
That's amazing. All right. Well, I think that's going to wrap it up here, Emma. We could get way more in depth, obviously, but we're here to give you a nice your guide too, so you can figure out what's going on in Among Us and then hopefully have a nice conversation about it, you know?
Yes, that is correct. Hopefully y'all enjoyed your guide to Among Us. So go ahead and sub right now if you haven't already, and let us know in the comments what guide you'd like us to make next.
Yeah, that's right. Emma's cat has already been making a lot of noise.
Oh my God.
Your cat
He's
wants
like
to know
all
what kind of
about
games we're
Among
going to
Us.
do next.
He's a genius now.
Yeah, maybe your cat's like, hey, I'm trying to impress this other hot feline down the street, but they're all into JRPGs and I know nothing about it. And I just want to get meowing with that kitty litter. So you're going to have to tell Emma what you want to know. So comment down below. I mean, whatever.
Yeah.
Look, are we going to do a JRPG episode, Emma, soon? We should, right?
We're obviously going to do a JRPG episode. Yep, I can talk. Anyway, y'all, don't forget to follow us on Twitter at @TheDownloadVen, and we'll see y'all again very soon. Goodbye.
Bye, everyone.
And don't be sus. Thanks for tuning in. Check out more great moments on our YouTube at WatchVenn and watch the full episode on VENN.TV.